Wanting to get a car, many of us ask ourselves where to get money for this pleasure. Is it worth taking money on credit for a car, or is it better to come up with something else? But, not everyone and not always manages to come up with something else. While you can get a loan very easily and quickly, if only the conditions on which you will take this loan are acceptable for you. Many banks are ready to issue you a loan for a car. You can even take a loan in the car dealership itself, where you will find yourself an iron horse. But as you yourself understand, for your own benefit, you should take a loan in the most advantageous place, specifically for you. As for the question we are considering in this article, whether it is worth taking a car loan or not, I can definitely tell you that yes, it is worth it. But, provided that you really need a car. And if you need it, then what doubts can there be about the need to take money on credit to make such an important purchase for you? The question is not whether it is worth taking a car loan or not, the question is where it is best to do it. There is no need to doubt the need to make the only right decision for you. Think better about how to make it correctly. So, as you can see, I already proceed from the fact that you have firmly decided to buy a car, without which it is really difficult to do in the modern world. You especially need it if you are a business person and cannot afford to waste your precious time on public transport. In addition, a self-respecting person will still prefer personal transport to public transport, since public transport is comparable to a public toilet, in which people are forced to share all human charms with each other. Therefore, friends, if you have decided to do something, then do it. No need for all this snot, is it worth it or not, or maybe it is better this way, or maybe that way. What kind of position is this with you? You either want to have something in your life, or give up your desire, since it scares you. Ride the tram, together with grandparents, instead of driving in a car with girls. You know how pleasant it is to choke on public transport during rush hour? Well, okay, it's not about that. What should I tell you? About the advantage of a car over public transport, or about the need to have a car these days, because you understand it perfectly well without me. The point here is rather about your understanding of how to profitably buy a car on credit, so that your purchase does not turn into an unpleasant problem for you with a debt, which you will then have to return to the bank. Is it possible to buy a car without a loan? Of course you can, but to do this, you will need to earn a decent amount of money in a relatively short time, because a car is not cheap. Do you know how to do this? If not, then look for information in my articles on the topic of how to make money, including quick money. Learn how to make money, and then you will not have to get into any debt. However, I want to note that it is not so easy to learn how to make really good money, and not some miserable pennies. It is not for nothing that half the world lives in debt, including developed countries that have the largest debts. Therefore, if you still decide to get a loan, and not some kind of work, then you definitely need to find out where you can get it profitably. Well, let's try to understand where it is more profitable to get a loan for a car, and what options you have here. Is it worth taking a loan from a car dealership? I cannot give you a clear answer to this question. And here's why. The fact is that car dealerships do not issue loans for the purchase of vehicles on their own. They do not have such an opportunity. By law, only banks can engage in lending, so in any case, you will be dealing with a bank. And here everything will depend on which bank or banks the car dealership cooperates with, and on what terms it cooperates with them. So, you yourself will evaluate the loan offer, car loan, that the car dealership makes you. But, benefit is benefit, it can be different. And in our case, it is not only about money, but also about time, which we also value very highly. Therefore, there are other points that you also need to consider when deciding where it is best to take out a loan. Keep in mind that by buying a car on credit in a showroom, you make your life much easier. You will not have to waste your precious time on tedious and completely unnecessary trips to banks, collecting a bunch of documents for them and waiting for their decision on the loan. In general, if you have ever taken out a loan from a bank, then you understand what I am talking about. You need a car, and not all this red tape with documents. You, unlike bank employees, are not paid for all this paperwork, and therefore, if possible, you should avoid it. As for the benefits of such credit terms, they, as I have already said, can be different. Everything depends on the partnership relations on which the car dealership cooperates with banks, and on its own needs and appetites. I assure you, when it is extremely important for the dealership to sell its cars, they make very favorable offers to their clients. I know many examples when people bought the same cars in different dealerships at different prices. The law of supply and demand in our country states that the price of any product without exception changes in order to bring supply and demand into a state of equilibrium. And therefore, if you want to buy something profitably, and in our case, we are talking about buying a car, then you need to find those sellers who really need to sell it to you. Thus, our situation is very simple and clear. If a car dealership offers you a car on credit on, in principle, favorable terms for you, then you can safely agree to its offer and do all your business in one place. If its offer is not favorable for you, then perhaps you should go to another car dealership, where the credit terms will be more attractive. You will always have time to come to the bank. Banks will not go anywhere from you. For them, issuing loans is a business, and not a favor to their clients, and certainly not a charitable activity. Therefore, banks work, and will work, and perhaps soon they will begin to actively reduce interest rates on loans. However, when taking out a loan to buy a car at a car dealership, you greatly narrow your choice of credit offers, including those that may be so advantageous for you that no other dealership will offer you anything similar. The circle of partners, that is, the banks with which the car dealership cooperates, is usually small, which means that the flexibility of its loan offer will be less flexible than the flexibility of similar offers from numerous banks. Banks, as I have already said, make money by issuing loans, so they have to find advantageous offers for their clients in order to attract their attention. So, although it is advantageous for you to buy a car on credit without leaving the dealership where you have chosen it, you will still have to run around the banks to save your money. Therefore, see for yourself what you have more, time or money. Of course, you will buy a car in any case, but then you will have to somehow pay off your debts, and it is quite obvious that it will be better for you if these debts turn out to be small. You understand that if we are talking about a loan that you want to use to buy a car, then you will have to pay this loan back for several years. The money that the bank lends you is not your money, it is the bank's money. Do not forget about it. If you had the necessary amount of money for a car, you would buy it without any loans, but you do not have this amount, and if you cannot or do not want to earn it, then you have no other option except for the opportunity to use a loan. But this very loan can be different. It is one thing when every month you calmly pay a certain amount of money to pay off the loan and practically do not notice these payments, and quite another when your debt is unbearable and you constantly have to strain yourself to pay it. It is better to think about the interest on the loan before you drive out of the showroom in your brand new car, so as not to spoil this joy. The possibilities of each of us are limited, and in principle, they are different for all of us. Some people can afford not only a car, but also a yacht and a private jet, while others can even save up for a used car for happiness. Why did you ask yourself whether it was worth taking out a loan for a car or not? I am sure that you are probably concerned about the situation that you will face after buying a car. Right? That is, you need a car, and you are clearly not going to discuss refusing to buy it, in which I fully support you, but at the same time, you do not have the necessary amount of money to make such a purchase. And it would seem, do as everyone else, borrow money from the bank and buy yourself whatever you want. But you need to take out a loan wisely, that's the thing, that's why you are so worried about it. If everything was simple with a loan, you would just go and take it, and buy yourself any car, including the most expensive, the most prestigious, one in which you would feel like God. And you would, as they say, not worry about the decision you made. But with loans, not everything is as simple as we would like. They need to be chosen wisely, like apples at the market. And in order to choose something wisely, you need to have the widest possible choice, so as not to find yourself in front of a choice between 2 tubes of toothpaste, or between 2 presidential candidates. Such a choice is not a choice, it's some kind of crap. So when independently searching and comparing bank offers, you will certainly find a more favorable loan offer than the offer that the car dealership will make you. And even if it takes you a certain amount of time, you will save a considerable amount of money, which will certainly not be superfluous for you. Why should you choose between an expensive and a very expensive car loan if you can get an inexpensive loan? Well, except for the advantages I described above, simplicity and convenience. However, if your income leaves much to be desired, you will have to, having given up the conveniences that are dear to you, make a little effort and look among the numerous offers from banks for the most advantageous offer for you. This is not difficult to do if you use the internet, where any normal bank has its own website. On their websites, banks publish full information about the loans they issue, which I recommend that you study very carefully in order to then compare all the offers that exist on the credit services market before using one of these offers. Be sure to pay attention to the total cost of the loan when you compare offers from different banks. That is, you need to pay attention not only to the interest rate, but also to all other payments. Keep in mind that today, you can take out a loan without a down payment and without guarantors. But in cases with very favorable loans, you will still have to prove your honesty and integrity to the bank, and for this, you will need to provide it with certain guarantees for the return of the money you borrowed. Only at a very high interest rate can you be given a loan without any additional requirements, asking only for your passport. And again, benefit is benefit, but in the bank you can also take a loan for a used car or a new car, depending on your wishes and possibilities, whereas in the car dealership for obvious reasons, you will not be able to do this. To be honest, I do not even know what is better, to take a new domestic car or a used, but high quality, and more comfortable foreign car. After all, on the one hand, we are talking about a new car, just off the assembly line, but on the other, you know how they make them here. The choice is yours. As for a new, high-quality, stylish, prestigious and comfortable car, produced in a country where they know how to make cars, then without a doubt, it will be a real gift for you to yourself. Whether you can afford such a purchase or not, you know better. In general, friends, today a person without wheels is a person of yesterday. Although I don't often drive my car, since lately I have nowhere to go, I calmed down a little and decided to take a break from all this life's bustle. But, nevertheless, I can't even imagine how one can live without a car today, without which one feels like some kind of inferior person. It seems that many people have cars, and how are you worse? Many can afford a car today, using a loan for this purpose. Well, judging by the traffic jams that we see on our roads, many use them. If you can buy a car for cash, not on credit, then that's very good, then you're great, you know how to make money. But if you don't have the necessary amount of money, and you don't know how to make it, and you don't want to find out, well then, friends, buy a car on credit, what else can you do? Well, you're not going to ride a tram, really.